Hey, what's up guys, Ryan here. Welcome back to another tutorial. And today we're talking about how to adjust those large scenes that you get sometimes from 3D camera tracking and having issues, with the scene being too small or too large and having to work inside that. I'll show you two quick ways to do that. So let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, here we are inside of After Effects. I've already ran the 3D camera tracker by right-clicking our footage and saying track camera. Now I got some points in the scene to start, making some nulls and set our ground plane to start working inside a 3D space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple of extreme examples of some issues that might happen and how to adjust that from there. So, all right, so let's say we want this area to kind of be our center of origin. We're going to put, a shadow there. We're going to put a vehicle there, something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, just sort of 3 points in this area in different areas of space to represent our ground plane. And right now we have our origin icon there. It's very tiny in the scene because our camera is so far away. So I'm gonna go ahead and right click this, and I'm not gonna do set ground plane origin. That's what will center in the frame. I wanna show you an example of if you don't get it centered in frame, how this, these techniques will help you. And instead, let's create a null and a camera. So here we have our null, it's super tiny. We have to scale it up a ton. We're at, 112,000 here, or I'm sorry, 13,000, 14,000. And it's just huge in the scene. So one of the key things before we start adjusting our scene is with the 3D camera tracker selected, our scene's huge, we'll adjust it later. Let's get a couple of nulls in here that we know we will probably want to reference and use. So maybe there's a vehicle here, maybe there's something here, we'll create another null. I'm just creating random nulls of where I might want my objects to be or where I want stuff to be placed. So, maybe we'll have another one way back here. So we created some nulls, we created some reference points. We got our 3D camera. Let's go to the top view and see what this looks like real fast. All right, so here's our top view, and right away you can see one of the problems is we have our ground plane null, but that's the one that we scaled up to 15,000%. We don't know where anything else is in this scene. I'm gonna hit C to grab my camera tools. I'm just gonna pan out. Okay, so we got some nulls there. These are nulls near the camera. I don't know where the far nulls went, and it's just huge. This is hard to work with. I don't even see the camera yet. Let me make sure the camera's soloed. Yeah, so we don't know where the camera is. So this is kind of a common, problem that happens when you do some 3D motion tracking. And there's a couple of ways we can deal with this. One way is let's go ahead and make a new null, and we'll select everything to the null. We'll hit scale, and we'll sort of scale it down till we, sort of get something happening. So there, our camera just popped back into frame. And with this, we can sort of, if I bring up my camera tools, we can get this kind of back in the middle of our scene. And that's a quick way to adjust a scene. Let me go ahead and undo all that. All right, so now we're back where we started to our huge scene. All right, and so the other way we can do this is a free script from AE Scripts called Orient World, and it just has a lot more features that are quick and easy instead of manually adjusting it yourself. So if we remember, I kind of used the the camera tool to sort of zoom around here, so we don't exactly remember where the center of our composition is. So let's do this. We know this is our ground plane. Let's tile this ground. This is where the main center of our scene we want it to be. And let's go ahead and let's start launching the script and see what we can do. So let's go ahead and launch the script. I'm going to go to Window. We're going to do the Orient World script. And there's tons of options here. If you download the script and play with it, I definitely encourage you to explore some options. But I'll just do a couple of quick ones that I use all the time when I'm doing camera tracking. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get Layer. I'm going to use Set as Ground Plane. This is going to be the center of our scene. But I'm going to click the Advanced Settings real quick. And let's visualize World Center. I'm going to show and hide that. Okay, so this is where our actual After Effects center scene is. So if I kind of, zoom in here, let's make this a window fit here. So this is where the actual After Effects window is. And our ground plane isn't too far off of that. But if your ground plane is way off in Z space somewhere or, X, Y space anywhere, this will help orient your world. See what I did there? No? Okay. So let's see. So first thing I'll do is I'll make sure my ground plane is selected, and I want to go to the comp center. So let's go ahead. We got our ground plane, comp center. I'm going to apply that. And boom, our ground plane not only went to the center, but also rotated our scene. So that affected all of our nulls in our camera. So we're starting to slowly, we're starting to get our scene into place here. So the other options that we have is we can move our scene a certain area where we want. We can rotate it and we can scale it. Rotating is nice for if you get a track that, for some reason, let's say you have a drone shot that's overhead. Sometimes it'll put it, as it's right in front of you. Well, then you can rotate your scene 90 degrees and your camera's looking down at the ground just like it's supposed to in the real world. So one thing we'll do next is let's go ahead and scale it down. Now, for me, I've noticed that, if you have big scenes, you want to scale it down, and these numbers are very sensitive, and a little goes a long way. So we're at 0.5 right now. We'll just sort of play with a couple of numbers until we can kind of see our camera and our nulls in the scene here. So what I'll do is let's try something like 0.25. Let's try half as large. Okay, so it made the scene smaller. We got some nulls here, but this still really isn't something I feel like we can work with. So let's undo that. And let's try something like, let's try 0.05. Let's apply that. All right, cool. All right, so we got our scene, but this is almost too small of a scene now. Let's undo that, and let's go ahead and let's just do something like 0.1. Let's apply that. And there we go. We got our scene. It's something that we can actually see and manage inside of After Effects, or if we export this into Cinema 4D, it's something we can actually see and use. And so let's go ahead and zoom back out. Here's a little sneak peek of our short film coming out. We have our, drone in the shot hovering over our escapee. And this short film's coming out on YouTube in a little bit. We just need a few more weeks to, sort of tweak things around. And then we'll go ahead and break down all the effects, have some giveaways. We'll do a bunch of fun things on the YouTube channel. So tune in if you want to see that. Thanks for tuning in this Friday. Hope you have a great Friday, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. So have a great one.